Recording's prepared. Hi everyone, welcome to Bookish Love with Krystal. Today I have the greatest honor of having author Whitney Dean with me today.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm cold. It's cold here, but I'm good.
So I know when we had spoken that I have been following your journey for your publishing situation for a while. And I know I wanted to talk to you about that. Clearly, as for those of you that aren't familiar with Whitney's situation, it is all over her Instagram. But I know you are dealing with some legal stuff, so you can talk about it however you can or however you have to word things to keep it
Yeah.
as good as you can.
Okay.
So, when did you first get published?
So I actually started with self-publishing back in May of last year. And I had published my first book, A Kingdom of Flame and Fury, by myself. And because it was written to market, which fantasy romance is a huge market right now,
Hmm.
um, I did not anticipate it going as fast as it did in growth. Um, and so when I reached, I don't know, I want to say 5 months after publishing that, I got to a point where I was still so new at this that I didn't know how to do anything aside from just getting the book on distributors. I was getting requests for licensing. People were wanting it translated in all these languages, and I had no idea how to go about that.
Yeah.
So I wrote the second book and it was done. And I saw that the publisher that I submitted, that I have all these issues with, had open submissions.
Hmm.
And so I submitted the second book in the series to them. I didn't really think anything of it because I knew that even if I didn't get chosen, I could still do this on my own. I was learning as I went. Um, but in January, I heard back from them, and that's when um, they republished. I took down Fury and Frost from retailers, and they republished those two books in January of
Hmm.
this of 2023.
And they were in for a while. I mean, because I saw you have number one best selling right now, which I'm like, that is awesome. Congrats.
Thanks.
And I've tried to make sure that I've made it well aware on my own page. I put up the don't buy these, buy these. I make sure that I put that out there because I want to make sure that you get your money to begin
Mhm.
with, because that's your work. It's not
Yeah.
somebody else's.
Right, right.
Now, when did all that when did you start noticing that things weren't right?
So the way the contract was spelled out for the first series was I was supposed to get royalties the month following the quarter. And so the way publishing quarters work is January, February, March, April, May, June, so on and so forth. It's every 3 months. So I received a partial payment of $300 in April, but the owner told me that payments were late,
Hmm.
and that she couldn't pay me the rest yet. And to me, that was odd because when I was self published, I never had issues with late payments ever.
Yeah.
But the way this small press was presented to me was that it was a very established small press. They knew what they were doing. And so, being as naive as I was, still new in this industry, I just took her at her word and thought, okay, so because my books were loaded in January, maybe it does take a while for small presses to receive their payments. I honestly had no idea.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was a very small portion of what I had grown used to for payments for my books.
Hmm.
Um, but we had become friends by that point. So I just kind of believed her. And as time went on, in July, I was supposed to receive my next payment in July. And instead of receiving the second quarter payment as the contract stated I should have, she only sent me the rest of the first quarter payment. And so we had a mutual friend who was an accountant, who is an accountant, she still is. And she was also an author with with the small press.
Yeah, yeah,
Phantom House Press. I mean, everyone's seen my Instagram.
yeah,
Um, and so, but she wasn't contracted. They were friends. And so she always self-published her books. She just used the imprint. Um, so I texted her all of this and I'm like, can you look at these contracts? Can you look at my former payments and tell me what's going on? And she confirmed to me that I should have been paid for April, May, June, and July because that's how the contract was written.
yeah.
Um, and so I approached the owner about this and was completely gaslit about it and was told that that is not what the contract said. And that's how all of this basically started, was me approaching them and being like, this isn't right.
Yeah. No, I saw through your post that you never received a signed contract from the small press, right? Like they never signed the copy and gave you a copy signed.
I received the contracts for the actual publishing.
Hmm.
The one I didn't receive was for a separate business of hers where
Okay.
she was selling all of my special editions.
Okay.
And we never had a contract for special editions. We only had one for clothing and I think mugs and clothing, which I had not been paid for at all. And we signed that back in like January or February. Um, and I had not been paid any royalties for the special editions that I provided all the artwork for, thousands of dollars for her to make tons of money off these special editions.
Yeah. I about to
So
say I saw that.
yeah, it was so not only was I missing quarter royalties from them, but I was missing merchandising royalties, special edition royalties, just all
That's a
the
lot of
royalties for
money.
everything she had sold so far using my name in my books.
Yeah, that's a lot of money because I was like I said I was going through your stuff when I first started my author journey. I was running through, looking at and I forget how you popped up um on my Instagram, but you popped up and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, and I'm going through your stuff and then I'm like, whoa, and I went to your highlight reel of everything and I'm reading this and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like it's terrifying
Mhm.
and I give you so much credit for the fact that you were able to like take back some of your power and redo these books and get them out there on your own. Like
Yeah.
that is phenomenal on its own because I
Thank
mean
you.
it's hard. And so was she put out as like a hybrid or just oh I'm a small little press?
So the way they approached me with this press in January was they were a full scale small press. They would cover editing, part of ads, part of book tours, which are huge for release. And I was, even though they weren't a trad publisher, she conveyed it to me that they did everything a trad publisher does. They just didn't have the same reach. But I was also told that they had, BuzzFeed contacts, and which is a huge deal. BuzzFeed Books is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And that they were close with the owners of a couple huge book boxes. And I don't want to say their names because they have
Yeah.
nothing to do with any of the drama. But I was very much misled into thinking this was a full scale small press. Um, and I trusted way too easily because she was also an author. And I was like, surely another author would not do this to, like, there's nothing for me to be afraid of. But
Yeah.
I made a mistake, a giant mistake. So
Um, so as like as a warning to others that are starting this journey, like what would you go back and do differently
mhm.
that you didn't do then that like you're now cautionary to for the future?
Yeah. So the mutual friend I mentioned earlier, who has actually been a huge help in all of this, she has told me that she wishes I had talked to her first before signing anything, because she had been friends with this person and she had witnessed some of the toxic behaviors that this person was exhibiting as of lately. But I did not have a relationship with her yet. And she is a massive bookstagrammer. And so all I did was go to her profile before I signed and said, okay, so this person is under their imprint, so it must be good. Like if
Yeah.
she's doing it, then it must be good. Um, but if I could give anyone advice now, it would be to talk to other authors underneath an imprint before you sign anything. Like get their experience with this imprint, whoever you're signing with, just talk to someone else and get their opinions, which is what I do now with everything I do.
Yeah.
I'll, if I don't know that person, I'll reach out and be like, listen, I saw that you were with this person or you're working with this person. What is your opinions about that? Um,
I mean, that sounds like probably the best thing to do because I know myself actually wanting to do this podcast, I was nervous because I reached out to you. You were like one of the first people I reached out to, and I was like, this is an entire shot in the dark. I'm gonna take this dart and throw it and just hope it gets noticed. And I was surprised that you jumped on with like yes, and I was like, yay!
yeah,
Because I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, I'm a nervous person. I'm the kind of person that I don't I like my world in my books that I write about, I put it out there, but in reality, I can talk your ear off. But the whole time in my mind, I'm like, am I annoying them?
yeah,
Am
no, I
I
know, I get
talking
it.
too much?
I'm the same way.
And it's
Yeah,
funny because most people don't think that. And most people are like, oh, but you're an author, and for me, I'm also a barber. I'm behind a chair talking to people nonstop. But I'm like, still doesn't mean I don't feel like I'm annoying the crap out of people.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No,
I
I get it.
actually I reached out to two author sisters and I'm like, this is a shot in the dark. Because I was
Yeah,
like, they may not even see. And the
sure.
fact that they responded and they're gonna be on later in the month too, I'm like,
That's
oh
amazing.
yeah, and it's funny because like you said, you want to reach out to people in our community to learn.
Mhm.
Um, I've noticed threads like has been the most positive thing in
Threads
my
is, yeah, yeah. Threads is, I haven't been on there in months. I was obsessed with it when it first came out, but I loved Threads. It was all positivity from bookstagrammers
and it
and
still
other
is,
authors.
and I'm noticing more authors on there actually talking to one another
Mhm.
and not and yeah, there's been some like negativity because obviously there's been a lot of crap going on in
Sure.
our author community that we're just gonna keep it arm's length, but I think it's cool to see how everybody pulls together.
Yeah.
Now, for those that don't know your book, why don't you go ahead and give them a little insight to the first one?
into the series, the
Hmm.
my Zaven series.
Yes.
So the Four Kingdoms series is about an elemental witch who does not realize she's a witch, and until the very, what is it, the very end of the first. It's been so long since I wrote it. I think it's like mid first book she learns that she's a witch, but the reason she didn't know is because magic has been banned from their realm for over a century. And to her knowledge, she was the only one who possessed any kind of magic because she has been secluded on an island kingdom all her life. And she was adopted. She doesn't know who her parents are. And but she was mysteriously willed to be the next ruler of this island kingdom when she was 10 years old by the king, who also had no children, no wife, or anything. So no one had any idea why he chose this random orphaned girl to take his place as the ruler of Ceolia. Um, and so she rules for 15 years, having no knowledge of who she is or why she has these powers. The only one who she thinks is aware of her magic is her best friend and advisor, Cade, who we later learn is not who she thinks he is either. But then our male Morley Gray anti-hero comes in and visits and finds out that Raven, I think in the third chapter, we learn that Raven is his mate, his twin flame, who is a super rare bond.
Yeah.
Um, and we also learn that he possesses his own magic.
Ooh.
And so we learn, the first story I like to say is kind of the prequel to their actual story, because it's getting to know the whole backstory of their kingdom, of their realm, of what she can do, of what he can do. And I would say the end of the first book is when we really start rolling into the drama and what's to come for the rest of the series. But it is a dark, spicy fantasy romance series.
I will confess I have them on my Kindle. I have them like queued up. I currently have an arc that I need to finish first. And I had Forged by Malice had come out by Elizabeth Helen, and I had to read that one as soon as it came
Sure.
out because it's one of those, but I do have your books. Literally, they're the next in my line. Because I've been paying attention to your Instagram, and I'm like, because I thought honestly, until you clarified, I thought each girl on each book was
Yeah.
different.
No, she and we learned this in the first chapter of Fury, the first book, but she is able to shift into all of her elements, which is fire, ice, earth, and then one that pops up later that you'll in the second book, I think. But yeah, she can fully shift into her elements.
I love it. I love it. Now you also just posted up, and I don't know, is this a book that you also did under the small press?
Rise of the Cinder Fae. It
Yes.
was going to be under the imprint. But luckily I had only written two parts of that book, and I was able to remove the owner from the Google Doc where she was reading it.
Oh,
So
good.
that book, and I rewrote the entire thing just like I did with Fury. I mean, I had to go back and rewrite it to make it Whitney's version, as the readers have lovingly
Yes.
named my series. But so Rise of the Cinder Fae was supposed to come out December 6th of this month.
Hmm.
But all of this happened, and it I had to push the release date out till February to rewrite it and stuff. But yeah, it's completely different than what she read. So
Oh, good.
that's good.
Now, do you, and this is just my own thought process, do you worry that she might have kept the original, like a copy of the original on her computer? Like, would you have known if if she saved it?
I removed her from it before I tried to leave. So
Okay.
I don't, we had always strictly worked off Google Docs
Hmm.
when editing or anything, even sending it to the editor. It was all Google Docs. So just knowing her, I don't think she would have saved it.
Okay.
I don't think she would have thought to even save it. So no,
Gotcha.
I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. Well, that was my only concern because I know you said is she still selling the original the elemental covers?
She was until what was it, like a month ago, everyone found, like, I get sent all of these things from people super involved in this,
Yeah.
and I think they found the covers on Amazon. No, my friend is a store manager of Barnes and Noble, and
Mhm.
she sent me the sheets that she could still order these, which we had sent multiple cease and desists to
Yeah.
this person, and she would not take them down. Since then, since I called her out last time on Instagram, I think she has stopped selling them because I think she's realized that there are hundreds of people watching
Yes.
and willing to send me all of these things. So I don't think she is selling them anymore.
Good. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that was what I was worried was like how much money since you've left, how much money she's been stockpiling off of your work.
at least over 2 grand. I know that. And she is refusing to send me my royalties. So
That's not right. I don't feel like anyone should have the right to do that to you. I mean, I could see like if if it was just out of the blue and there was nothing on your end, but I mean, you have a lot
Mhm.
proving that like you got screwed out of a lot, which isn't cool.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that like she just kind of comes to her senses and be like, you know what, here, because all this is doing because we those of us that do follow it, we know who this press is. And
Mhm.
all that it's doing is putting a big red flag over her
Yeah.
press that none of us are gonna wanna, come to her.
Not just her press, but her books. Like that's what a ton of us are not understanding is this would all go away. Everyone would, no one wants to talk about this. This would, I would love to never have to say her name again. I would love to never have to talk about this again. I would, ever since the beginning, ever since I approached her the first time, I was like, I just want to leave. I just want out. You don't have to pay me. I just want to be done. But she just has this vendetta against me to just try and take more from what she's already taken. And
Yeah.
so we honestly don't understand the thought process behind that, but I mean it is what it is. We have mediation next month.
Yeah.
So
I saw that and I'm happy that, that's coming up for you because I'm hoping that with that this will be done for you so you guys can just part ways and you can move on.
mhm. Yeah.
Because I mean,
I
it
mean,
looks
with mediation now, I'll get to ask for what I'm owed. Whereas if she had just dropped this entire thing and just let me go, we
Mhm.
wouldn't have ever had to reach this point. But now for mediation, I get to ask for what she's withheld.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And
it does.
she has to have proof of why she withheld it.
Yeah.
And I'm like as an outsider reading it, I'm like I'm wondering if because she's making more money off your book than you
Mhm.
really know.
Yeah.
And because I seen that you had spreadsheets and I was worried that
Jeez.
well and that's what I'm saying. Like I always worry that when I saw those, I was like, if they're from the press, I'm wondering how much of that is actually being left off on the back end.
Yeah.
And that's what goes through my head reading that was I was like, if the press is making this and you're already having issues, who's to say she's not pocketing something and going, oh, well, here you're only making pennies on the mugs and everything. Like I saw all that. And it was like,
We know that the spreadsheets are wrong because the spreadsheets compared to what she does send from distributors don't add up. None of the numbers match. And so we know there's something somewhere that's missing. And then again, it's in my contract that at any time I can request to audit them to get actual accounting records, and they've denied that request 3 times. So
oh yeah, because that's not suspicious at all.
yeah, yeah,
I didn't realize it was like that. Because
yeah,
I mean, I feel like as the author, you have the rights to know, what's
yeah.
going on.
And until I approached them in July, I wasn't receiving any kind of accounting record at all of what I was owed. And so the accounting record she sent me are spreadsheets she literally made on like numbers and
Hmm.
pages. And I don't have actual full accounting records of what my books have brought in and what her other business brought in for merchandising and special editions.
Now,
And there's the pre-order money that I never saw that she wants me to pay back. So
she wants you to pay back
yeah,
money
yeah,
on
yeah.
pre-orders for your books. Now, is that the ones that she ordered the wrong size in?
No, those were those were the special. I think she wants me to pay for those too, but those were the special editions that she ordered the wrong size of, which I provided the right size dust jackets. So I don't even know what happened there. I have a contact with the printing service that she used. I have no idea what happened there, but no, she had offered Rise of the Cinder Fae signed pre-orders on through the website, the small press website, and the small business website.
Mhm.
And Cinder wasn't done. There were no production costs at all.
Yeah.
And all that pre-order money that came in just vanished. And she wants me to pay that back. And
But
I never saw any
she
of
has
that
to
money.
have proof that she sent it to you though for you to pay it back. I feel like any
I don't even know why would you spend it? There was no, There was no production costs. The book
Yeah.
wasn't finished.
Yeah,
And
that doesn't make sense.
yeah.
And also again, she has to have documentation and proof
Hmm.
that she sent you the money.
Hmm.
F-
Yeah.
I feel like this press is just a front for some like this sounds like like something
Like
you
a
would write in a story. It
yeah.
sounds like a horror story that like and you're
It
just like,
has been a horror story. I mean, this
yeah.
has been a huge eye opening. And I hate it. I hate now that I go into every business deal
Mhm.
distrusting, and she is such an isolated person in the grand scheme of Bookstagram and Book Talk, which is full of just genuine, amazing people. But my one experience with her has me doubting every person I interact with. And it's super unfortunate. But my story will prevent other authors from hopefully falling for the same thing.
And that's why I wanted to have you on and tell your story is I know you want to be done with this and I 100% want you to be done with this. I just that's why I'd asked if you were okay talking about like what you could
Yeah.
because it's an experience that a lot of people have gone through, but no one's talked about it. You're the
Mm-hmm.
first person I know that has openly said, "This is my life out for you all. Please be careful."
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted your message to get out to others to because how else do we learn? We learn from our own mistakes, but we also learn from the mistakes of others.
Mm-hmm.
And your story resonates high with me because I actually I was approached by two yeah, you put out your stuff. I got called back from two hybrids. And because I was so naive to the situation, I went to Reddit.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, "Hey, does this sound right?"
Mm-hmm.
And the one publisher, I recognized the names themselves because I've seen other books by them, but
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that, oh, where yes, they have a big traditional house that offers you contracts, they also have the hybrids on the side that
Mm-hmm.
they offer you a contract, but
Yeah.
you're paying that contract up front. And
Mm-hmm.
the one was like, oh yeah, we only take, X amount off your books and after you make all your production money back. But that was like two, three, 5 grand. You want an audiobook with it, that's 5 grand up front. And I was like,
Ooh.
I don't have the money for that.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
and when you first get that official contract in your email, you get excited. But and honestly, if it wasn't for my boyfriend going, do your research, that's too much
Mm-hmm.
money. And I kept saying, I can't afford that right now. The one respectfully, uh, the person I spoke with, she was fantastic. And she was like, I really wish I could offer you this in a different way. Super professional, super nice, loved her. She even said, if you self-publish, do me a favor, just send me the link. I would love to read it because I even changed it after I had sent it to both of them because like I asked you, were you worried that they might have kept a copy?
Mm-hmm.
I worried in the back of my head that they would have kept a copy. So I'm like, I shouldn't feel that way, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I changed the story up a bit, changed a few things so that way it was different, just in case
Yeah.
they kept it in story, which is horrible to say.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ever wanted to go that route, I would probably go with the one because where yes, they were expensive, their plans were more affordable, and the people were more genuine than the second one. The second one was like, oh no, 6 grand up front, you don't make any of that back, and you get $1 off of each book.
Oh my, no, no.
Like,
Almost
and
sounds like a vanity press.
that's exactly what everybody was like, whoa, pump the brakes. That's nothing. And then I also went on the websites and looked at the cover art. And if the cover art looks like a first grader drew it, I think I need to
Oh,
run.
yeah.
So that's my biggest take on that was I was like, all right, well, that's not happening. But I still have those two contracts. I have them printed as a reminder to myself of what I almost rushed into.
Yeah.
And I even printed out my first two query rejection letters. I didn't know how to write a query letter out of my I still don't. I still don't. That's why I don't have an agent. I'm doing it on my own. It's
Sure.
but it's like I, I I don't know how people do it. And seeing how you've done it and you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
I kudos, hats off, because well, hats off, yes, hats off. um, but I can't wait to dive in. And so pre-orders for Rise of the Cinder Fae that comes out what I know you said February, but when does the
February
pre-order?
26th. The pre-order for the ebook is available now.
Okay, and are you publishing through yourself?
Yes.
Okay, and are you doing it through Amazon?
Yes.
Okay, so
Mhm.
that is why we can't do paperback. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are at home trying to pre-order paper books through Amazon for your indie authors, I am sorry, we cannot do that.
And I
I
don't like
don't.
going with Ingram. They are so slow and so picky with their measurements and stuff. And I'm like, this is way too much of a headache. Like I just don't even want to deal with
Ingram's telling me that I have invisible text box in my script, and I'm like, I'm going through my word. I'm like, okay, I don't see it. I don't
it.
see it. What are you talking about? I don't see it. How can I fix something that's not there?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you gotta do Ingram, and then like you said, they're so picky, even with their
Yeah.
coloring for your covers. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I have my cover. Everyone loves my cover. Well, I had to do a secondary cover because the color scheme is off. What do you
Oh
mean
my
the color?
gosh.
I'm like, what do you mean the color scheme's off? Like,
I
uh,
mean, they are lightning source, basically. They're the indie version of lightning source. You would think they have the capabilities to print anything.
something. But it's so funny because even with Amazon, so I offer hardback because I had a lot of people go, oh, I want hardback, I want hardback, and I'm like, okay. So I put through a massive order for like, when I say massive, 10, because it's all coming out of my pockets.
Sure.
Starting it with 10, seeing what I can do. And I ordered them a week before launch, and today marks 30 days since my book has been released, and I still don't have those hardbacks yet.
Gosh.
Apparently Amazon says they'll be here Monday.
Wow.
But I'm like, it's been 30 days since the book launched. 10 days before that, so that's 40 days. Then add on, the other 3 more days that you're quoting me that's going to take to get to me. And I'm like, no wonder I'm not having any hardback sales.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I thought I had a couple people, they went to go order it through Amazon and they were like, saying it ain't going to be here until about Christmas time. And I went, yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh my gosh. There's
So I
indie
told
authors
every,
not have enough resources.
no. And it sucks because, like you said, Ingram Spark's so specific. It sucks that you just can't. They them and KDP don't just like come together since you can use
Yeah.
the same ISBNs and stuff. It's like, okay, take my book,
Or
merge
why
it.
can't Ingram adopt the same system that KDP has?
Yes,
Because you can have something listed in 24 hours. Like, why does it take like a week for someone to look at your cover and your manuscript and approve it?
yeah. About to
It's just,
say, I had to do a change because somebody thankful to my reader. I don't know. I guess a lot of people just like skip over it and don't realize it in their paperbacks. But the first batch that went out, chapter 6 and chapter 7 were the same chapter.
oh
And I
no.
went, and I'm checking my manuscript. I'm like, no, 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 that's not right. There was my computer glitched while uploading the manuscript and it duplicated chapter 6 and
Oh
7. So
no.
I was able to go in and fix it, but I'm like, my edit, my fix
Mm-hmm.
was up and ready within 24 hours. But yet I see some people online going, "Oh, my first book is taking them forever." I like one person was saying that they were going on day 7
Oh
and their
my
book
God.
still hadn't been approved. And I'm like, it says 72 hours.
Yeah.
Check your email. Check your spam folder. There's something going on with what you
Yeah.
sent in.
Yeah.
And I kind of had to pull away from that conversation because she was like, "Well, are you sure you know?" And I'm like, Yep. Yep, I have my entire series listed. I put on a mock cover that I did. I was just like, okay, mock cover for the next book. Um, I got a couple more series that I have all like staggered to like when they're gonna come out, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm doing a lot through KDP, and I'm also doing the Vela too, so I have a general idea of how long it takes.
Yeah.
But it's shocking to see how some people won't take the advice you give them,
They have to
and
live with themselves.
and
Yeah.
and but and but that like luckily for some it's not a costly mistake. Sadly, like in your case, it's a costly learning experience.
Yes.
And I'm hoping you get all that back because that ain't right. That
Yeah.
somebody else is profiting off of you, off of your name, and off of your story.
Hmm.
But I feel like for some people, yeah, they want to learn it their own way, but guess what? Y- That's a lot. Like it's a lot to learn.
Yep.
So, what was your inspiration for doing both of your series? Do you have like one specific author that was like, yes, this is my inspiration, or did you have like the rest of us where we kind of like fell into a hole of we like to read and then there's not enough spicy books out there in the world, so here you go.
um, so I've always been a reader and a writer, but once I had my kids, I took a long, long break from reading and writing. And so I got on TikTok during COVID and learned that book talk was a thing, and Sarah J. Maas was everywhere. So I picked up the ACOTAR series, fell in love, and then I picked up Scarlett St. Clair's series, A Touch of Darkness series, Hades and Persephone. And I learned that we're the same age, and she had just published not long ago, not long before that, and that she lived close by. And so I was just like, if she can do it at our age, then I could do it at our age.
Yeah.
Um, and so just knowing her, we kind of became friends through Instagram, and just talking to her kind of inspired me just to keep going. I watched her journey from self-published, and now she's this huge, huge
Yeah.
deal, this big bloom author, and I love her and I'm so proud of her. And
No, are you saying Scarlett St. Clair or
yes,
okay.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I was like, wait, you're friends with Sarah J. Maas? Hold on.
No, 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 Scarlett, Scarlett.
Because I know Sarah J. Maas is through Bloomsbury as well. So I didn't
Yes,
know if it was the
yeah.
same.
No, it's not the same.
Okay. Cool,
Sarah
cool.
is Bloomsbury, and then Scarlett is Bloom Books, which is
Okay.
E.L. James. E.L. James's imprint.
Didn't know that.
So
All
yeah,
right.
she has like Scarlett, Anna, um, I don't know how you say her last name, Anna Hung,
Okay,
Hua.
I know who, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And Laura Thalassa is a Bloom author. And they have a huge lineup of all these book talk authors. It's incredible.
That is
Um,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. But she's my inspiration, and I've told her that before.
Oh.
So yeah.
See, I love it when you can reach out to an author who is big time, but
Hmm.
they take the time to actually respond to you.
Yes.
And I love this community in general because I never would have thought that authors that I read myself would actually talk to me. Like
Yeah.
I'm little me in Delaware and people go, Delaware? Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I know. Shocking, right? But it's heartwarming to know that people actually respond. I have actually had a couple authors that I'd reach out and be like, hey, I saw your book at like my local bookstore. It's awesome. You're great. Congratulations. Because they say they're self-published, they're indie and all that. And I'm like, hey, look, I saw your book. And I'm like, I'm a hyper fangirl. I will hype you up. That's just who I am. So there was one I reached out to and she like just ignored my message. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, all right, well, you're busy. It's fine. But I noticed like I started commenting on a lot of her threads too, because for a while we would talk back and forth, and then all of a sudden it's just they would respond to every other comment besides mine. And
Oh
I'm like,
no.
what did I do? Like, I'm sitting here hyping up your book. Like, what did I do? So I'm just like, you know what? Okay. I'm still gonna hype up your work, but I'm just not gonna reach out to you anymore.
Yeah.
And I've heard that a couple times from a couple people that I saw in a bookstagrammer. She was like, I hyped up this person's work since, day one. And then all of a sudden, we became friends. And then next thing you know, I'm blocked on every platform. And she's like, I don't know what I did except for just say, here you go. And instead of telling me, hey, I'm upset that you did XYZ, she was like, it was just dark, going dark. She was like, so did you use me and my following to get where you needed to go?
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, I'm like, wow, do people, I would never want somebody to think that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So, and so like now in the back of my mind, like if people respond to me and I can clearly tell you're not a bot or pressing me for, hey, pay me for your reviews.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
If you're clearly not a bot and you're not pulling that crap, I will respond to you.
Mhm.
If you're hitting me with a, oh, here's a list of packages I offer you, get out of my DMs. I'm not going to respond to you. I
Yeah.
literally have about six sitting in my like requests, and I'm just like, no, I'm not even going to remove you. I'm not even going to block you because that'll just mean you just hit me up again. I'm good. I'm just going to ignore it and just
Yeah.
that part of my DMs doesn't work for me. I don't see it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you probably deal with that too, don't you?
Yeah. I get my inbox is so full that I can rarely respond at all anymore. People I talk to often tend to sit at the very top, so I'm able to find theirs quicker.
Yeah.
But I've got messages like way down that I still haven't read because I just can't keep up with messages anymore.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to respond to
Oh,
me.
sure, yeah.
But I will always say this every time I see your stuff and I can share it, it will always be shared. Um, I
Appreciate
think I've shared out that do not buy like multiple times. I did have somebody respond to me about that and they were like, well, why do you keep doing this? And I'm like, because go to her page, read her story, like
yeah.
read it and you will understand. You want the money to go into the author, right? And they were like, well, yeah. And I'm like, boom, this is why I do this. And I will continue to do that for until this whole thing is done and then even after, because why? I want people to make sure that you get your work, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's one of those things like that's what true authors supporting authors is that whole I'm gonna build up everyone around me because there's enough ocean in this world for all of us,
Mhm.
and I don't want to ever see anybody put others down. It's not cool.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not.
Um, so I know you have Rise of the Cinder Fae coming out in February. Do you have another book coming out in the Four Kingdoms realm, or no? Is that done?
Yes. Book 4 is the last in Zeke and Raven's story.
Oh, yay! When can we possibly? Can I get a little
Uh,
detail on that?
I'm thinking December of next year. That's the plan. But I also have an October release for Cinder's
Ooh.
second one. Um, so we'll see if I can get all of this done.
So we get two Cinders next year?
So Cinder is book 1 in an interconnected standalone series.
Okay.
So it's a bunch of fairy tale retellings.
Ooh.
And so Cinder kicks it off. And then October will be the next retelling.
Oh, that
So
sounds like fun. I
yeah.
can't wait. Like I have it hearted, like heart. Let me do this. I do that. I get obsessive with books, and I'm just like yes, yes. Or I get obsessive with an author, and I'm like I will pre-order your entire catalog. I did that with Elizabeth Helen. I pre-ordered their entire catalog. I pre-ordered the entire catalog of like Jennifer L. Armentrout,
Mm-hmm.
and then she goes and throws another book in this prequel series, and I'm
she
like.
is she is constantly publishing. I don't know how she does it. I mean, it's just multiple a
So
year. And they're
So,
huge.
so the funny part about it is I have three slated for next year, and I had three slated for 2025. Well, one of my characters hijacked my brain earlier this month, and
Sure.
I was like, all right, a book that's not due out until 2025 is apparently getting a 2024 release because she wanted her story told.
Yeah.
And I had said that earlier to somebody about how characters can hijack your brain and just take over. And they were like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, ask an author. I'm pretty sure they'll tell you that their
Yep.
characters just constantly chime in their back of their head, like, hey, 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 I know you're thinking about me. Just come on, put
Yep.
it on paper. So I ended up pausing book two for my Sorellia novel series. And yeah, my next one's a pirate dark romance, so
Yum. That
we'll
sounds
see.
fun.
It'll be my first adventure in a dark romance. So
It's fun to write.
I'm about to say, do you have dark romance?
In my fantasy books, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. There's some dark, kinky tropes in mine.
I
Yeah.
was about to say, do you are you ever put off by books that don't list off the kink tropes right away?
No, because I only have one trigger and I never see it ever. I haven't read it in a book in over a decade.
Oh, well,
So
that's good.
yeah, I don't think it's ever really in books. So
Well, that's a plus.
I don't look for trigger warnings just because I don't get triggered.
I was about to say that was going to be my next question
Yeah.
was what do you feel about the trigger warnings? Because there was a
Yeah.
huge debate about that for and I know the author that sparked the debate, or at least the author that somebody was talking about.
Mhm.
Um because on her opening, and I have the whole series, it says if you I don't give trigger warnings. I want you to be surprised, but if you need them, here's my website.
Mhm.
Um I think she says she has one more book out that's coming out in the series that she's in. But that sparked up like the biggest debate on threads for like 3 days.
Wow.
Was well, why? What if you don't have a trigger warning? How do you warn people? And I'm like, I have trigger warnings in my book just because there might be something in my book you don't want to read.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I'm also you're not giving away the plot of a story with
Yeah.
trigger warnings. It's just
Terrifying.
like, hey, you're gonna come like this is in the book. There's a good chance you could come across, a guy and a guy in a hall closet.
Yeah.
You never know, and if that's triggering to you, please skip. But but I had kind of left threads for 3 days until that was over with.
Wow.
It was a lot, and I was like, why are we all I mean, I get why. I get everyone's point of view. I get the authors that don't do it. I get the authors that do. I get the readers. But I'm like, why are we debating this in
Yeah.
such detail? Like, why are we getting on somebody? Okay, so an author doesn't want to give a warning in her book. Okay, she says it's on her website. You don't want to go to the website, then skip the book. It may not be for you then. I have maybe two triggers
Hmm.
and I one stalking just because I had a situation. Uh did that put me off from reading Haunting Adeline? No. I was like, yeah, if I get triggered, I'll just close the book. Or I'll push through it. It is what it is. And people were like, well, doesn't that put you in a bad head place? I'm like, no, because the difference is that's a story
Hmm.
that came out of someone's mind. Now, could that have happened to that person and that's why they're using some real life experience? Cool. You know, if
Yeah.
you can turn your trauma into a story for the world, go for it. Not saying that that's what it was, just saying
Sure.
like there are
Yeah.
authors out there that do that.
Hmm.
So it's just the fact that that was a heated debate for a while was like, okay. But yeah. So is there anything you want to say out to the world?
I mean, I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much everything that's happened these last few months.
Now, do you have your own website where people can go if they want to buy signed copies from you?
I'm not offering signed copies right now
Mhm.
just because the Four Kingdoms series and Cinder are going to be in so many boxes,
Mhm.
and all of those are going to be hand signed.
Oh, perfect.
So I would just say my Instagram is the best place to keep up with everything
Yeah.
that's being offered soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that Whitney's handles will be in the description. If you're listening on the podcast, it will be in the description in the podcast, along with if you're watching on YouTube, it will be on there as well. Um, I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on and talk to me about your book series. It means the world to me as an author who, when I started, I found you and I've been following your journey since. And I'm like sitting here, I'm like reading, going, "Woo, there's a victory. Woo!" Like biggest cheerleader. Like when you said you had mediation coming, I was like, "Yes!" And my boyfriend's like, what is wrong with you?" I'm like,
Yeah,
you don't understand."
that was a big deal.
But I explained to him the whole series, the whole situation. He was just like, "That don't sound right." So like he's also kind of like following, like, "Hey, how's the updates going?" Yeah. Like, so I mean, there's a lot, and I'm hoping that people watching get the sense and the understanding of watch your back, like you said, reach out to fellow authors that are under the same imprint, and then also just doing your own research. And again, I thank you for being so open with me with what you can talk about. Um, for those of you that want to read up more on the situation or follow or even show support, because you also have, is it a Kickstart or GoFundMe for
It's a
the
GoFundMe. Mm-hmm.
GoFundMe?
GoFundMe, yeah.
Yeah, and you have that linked on your Instagram, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
And then my PA, Sam, she and a bunch of other authors and bookstagrammers put together a fundraiser for next month where they're going to auction off a bunch of like special editions and stuff that authors have donated. So
That's
that'll be
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
That I saw that in your little in the broadcast, and I was like, "Oh, yay!" So I get super excited when I see positive stuff coming off your page. It brightens my day.
Oh, love that. Thank you.
Um, but yes, everyone out there, go follow Whitney. She is amazing. Go buy her books. They are great. Like I said, they're on my list. Like literally, once I'm done the arc that I'm reading, they are like the next three in my line to read. So for that, I say thank you.
Thank
When
you.
Rise of the Cinder Fae comes out, that I'm literally gonna get off here and I'm gonna go pre-order that. And oh, one last question: will any of these be available on Kindle Unlimited?
All of them are.
Even better.
Yeah.
Either way, go support. Go
Yeah.
support amazingness.
Thank you so
Now
much.
watch, everything's gonna be like that way instead of this way. Because I don't know what to do with my hands half the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, for those of you that are listening, just ignore that part. But thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Whitney, for coming on. I appreciate everything.
Yep.
Hey, have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.